Welcome to the Business Bravery podcast, inspiring stories from coaches and course creators to help you do the next brave thing in your business. Coming up on the Business Bravery podcast.
Dharma is not necessarily purpose. A lot of people think that it is, but it actually is your own natural, just who you are inside, that the aspects of you that you cannot necessarily change or stop or turn off. It is just who you are. You can always evolve and you can always grow and be better, and your Dharma will grow with you, but it's not something that you can turn off. People actually don't want to learn yoga. People want a stretch class that looks like yoga on the outside, when yoga is very much an inside job. And so one of the brave things was trying to share with people what yoga actually is, and to tell them that what you think yoga is not actually yoga. So you could imagine that and yoga is almost like, talking about sports or religion or politics. People get really strong about their style of yoga.
I'm your host, Tiffany Gilliland, an Australian business and mindset coach with 10 years experience in online marketing and the creator of the Brave Launch Framework. I help coaches like you to be brave so you can stop dreaming and start doing that next big brave step and finally make more impact and get more clients. From speaking on camera to selling to launching, my approach to bravery helps you take bigger leaps without the mindset spirals. It's the secret ingredient to bigger results. Today, I'm talking to Mandisa about the true meaning of Dharma, that being finding one's own natural intelligence. We also discuss related ideas around passion versus purpose and her experiences finding both. Mandisa went from burned out massage therapist to yoga teacher and now works with entrepreneurs and artists to help them find clients and get their expertise out into the world. Mandisa did 500 hours of training in India for her yoga, and it has definitely informed her extensive knowledge of Dharma and finding your natural intelligence, as well as passion and purpose. I loved this conversation with Mandisa as she shares her insights, as well as her own brave steps in creating a different online community, as well as finding her first clients and standing in her own power when her teachings sometimes become confrontational for other people. I can't wait to share with you Mandisa's stories of business bravery, past, present, and future. Now, who's ready for some business bravery inspiration? Let's dive in. All right, everyone, I am here with the amazing Mandisa Reid, who is an amazing coach who I've connected with in a couple of places online, on Instagram and on the CEO networking group that Rebecca Nesbitt runs. You can check out her previous episode as well. And now I'm talking to Mandisa, and we're going to be talking all things Dharma and purpose, and she's going to give us a definition of all that. And Mandisa, thank you so much for joining me today on the Business Bravery podcast, and tell us about your business and what brave things are you doing right now in your business.
Thank you so much, Tiffany, for having me. It's such an honor. I've listened to your podcast and I've just been really enjoying all of your episodes. So you are doing a fantastic job. And I just wanted to, preface this entire conversation with that before we begin.
Awesome. Thank you.
So you first asked about the definition for Dharma, and I'm really, really glad that you asked, because there's actually a lot of misconception, a lot of different ideas around what Dharma actually is for a lot of people around the world. Now, Dharma is originally an Eastern philosophy, and you'll find it both in India and you'll find it in Tibet. So it's both like a Hindu and Tibetan Buddhist word that you'll find a lot in that area. And what it actually means is your own natural intelligence. So it is not your mind, it is not your emotions, it's not or your subconscious mind, it's not anything like that. What it actually is it's more in line with your intuition, right?
Yeah.
And not even so much instincts, because instincts are kind of like these sort of impulsive reactions that you might have to an event. Intuition is a natural guidance that is trying to lead you in the direction that you should go. And it is something usually quite subtle. It is something that never feels forceful unless you ignore it often. but generally it is something that is quite subtle, and you do have to listen for it, and be aware of it when it comes up. So the way that I like to describe Dharma as your own natural intelligence is actually by using the example of fire. Now, fire is hot and it burns. Those two things are actually separate. One is its nature and one is its purpose. So fire being hot is its nature. It could never not be hot. It will always be hot. That is just its nature. And so that is its dharma, right? Now, the fact that it burns is an action that it does. And one could say that that is its purpose, but that in itself is not necessarily its dharma. The dharma and the purpose, they're very closely aligned and almost indistinguishable, but they are two separate things. And so I want to make that really clear, that dharma is not necessarily purpose. A lot of people think that it is, but it actually is your own natural, just who you are inside, that the aspects of you that you cannot necessarily change or stop or turn off. It is just who you are. You can always evolve and you can always grow and be better, and your dharma will grow with you, but it's not something that you can turn off. Fire doesn't have to burn wood if there isn't any wood to burn, right? It doesn't have to burn anything, but it's always going to be hot. So I spend a lot of time on that because there is a lot of misconception around that. And I just really wanted to make it clear that dharma is not purpose. It is just your nature. And that nature is intelligent.
Ooh,
so,
wow.
So I really wanted to make that clear. So
Awesome. Actually, just because I know, like, when you first when we connected and you talked to me about Dharma, and I was like, okay, so what exactly is Dharma? And I know I felt a little awkward having to ask that. I'm like, oh man, I should know, but I just don't know. And then it's really interesting. So how does that help people, like understanding their nature? How does that, and the Dharma and the nature and things, how does that help them, like with their businesses and things, and how do you help them find that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I'm going to start by telling a little story, and it's my story.
Awesome. I love stories.
You're so cute.
Oh, sorry.
So I was once a massage therapist, and I worked really, really hard. I loved it. It was definitely my dharma. I really enjoyed it. But because of that, I worked like super, super hard. I worked every day, like Sunday to Sunday, 10 hours a day. I was seriously really busy. But you could imagine that meant that I had no life, none whatsoever. Like once I got home, it was just like closing off the day and preparing for the next day and sleeping. Like that's all I had time for. So there was definitely no work-life balance. And I came to realize that even though I was following something that I felt really passionate about and something that I was really actually quite obsessed about, it wasn't something that encompassed my entire Dharma. It was a piece of my Dharma. Now, within your Dharma, you have to look at how that can be applied to your entire life. So it is not just something that you apply to your business, it's something that you apply to your entire lifestyle and to your own personal self-development. And because of that, I actually had to take a break. I stopped work and I hired another therapist to take over everything for me. And I flew to India for 3 months. I had to just take a break, stop everything because, various things happened that showed me that really this is not sustainable. So I had to stop and just get away from it all. I went to India and I spent 1 month doing Ayurveda and I spent 2 months studying yoga. And it was incredible, life-changing. It definitely evolved my Dharma. So that now, when I think of Dharma, it's not just in relation to how I apply it to work, but how I apply it to my life and how I apply it to myself. So when you're really thinking about that, and I want to say that is something so great because so many people are coming to realize that. So many people have been experiencing burnout recently, and many of them are just saying, you know what, done, quit. I am going and living in Costa Rica and I'm going to do online work, freelance work, this kind of thing. They're changing their lives to suit more of who they actually are and what they would actually like. And not just from a work perspective, but from a lifestyle perspective. And I think that that's so cool. And while they're doing that, they're also enhancing themselves as a human being. And that's really, really amazing. So when I talk about, Dharma as far as business goes, it is looking at the things that you really love, something that that you can be obsessed about and that you could be obsessed about it for the rest of your life because you love it so much. That is how you know that it's your Dharma. When you can see yourself doing this particular thing for the rest of your life, that's how you know. And it's always advisable that when you are doing your business, it's good to do something that you feel that passionately about, because business is not that easy, right? Business is a lot of failures, a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of endurance required, and it's a marathon. So really, you have to love it. And your own natural intelligence will always guide you to the things that you love easily, way more easily than anything else. It will always tell you, yes, go in this direction, right? And there will be very clear, no, stay away from this, right? Like your Dharma very clearly defines and tells you where you should go and where you should not go. And so for those things that you love, for those things that you feel like you can make a really big impact in, for those things that that you can get really obsessed about, those are the things that you should really consider for, for your business as it relates to your Dharma. Now, the thing is that I often say, though, that when it comes to a passion versus purpose, there's a slight difference. And this purpose that you will apply to your business is something that that you want to make a big difference in, something that you want to have a great impact in, something that you really want to help a lot of people with. And your passion is something more that you do to fill your own personal cup. It is something that you can do that gives you a different kind of fulfillment than purpose would. Purpose, when you do that as a service, it fills you up and it fulfills you, like in terms of a self-actualization or self-realization kind of way. And I also feel that you also should have some other passions that you can do that just makes you feel super happy, super blissful, really just something that gives you joie de vivre. I feel like the two are a little bit different, and it's really good to identify, those two things. Like for me, I know that teaching Dharma to other people or helping other people discover their Dharma and applying it to their entire lives is something that is purpose led and purpose driven for me. I know that, helping people optimize their life and helping people actually be the best that they can be is my Dharma. When it comes to my passion, I love swimming, I love diving, I love, hanging out with friends and doing all these different things. And that fills me up in a different way than me doing my Dharma. And so I always like to also draw the separation between passion and purpose. And that purpose being what you apply your Dharma to. So yeah, so that was my experience having to go learn yoga, it changing me as a person as a whole, and then coming back to Barbados and now applying it in this way, because Dharma was naturally a big part of the teachings that we learned in Ayurveda and yoga. And I realized that this was like a core philosophy in both of those things. And so I just, having realized how important it was that all of us try to live our Dharma, yeah, I knew I needed to come and share that message with people. So I'm really happy to be here sharing it with you.
Yeah, oh man, that's awesome. And especially for me, like my experience even in the last few months, I've been getting more in touch with kind of who I am as a person. I have to admit, I don't know if I have even gotten in touch with my own Dharma, because the various passions light me up and I get very excited and it's like, oh, passion, and I follow that curiosity. But yeah, like, how do you know if you've found the Dharma, if that makes sense? Like,
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. And it's really hard for people to identify it for themselves because people most generally don't, go around just sitting thinking about themselves and thinking about, oh, well, what are my strengths and weaknesses in this kind of way? What are my sort of supernatural powers type of thing, right? Nobody's typically thinking about that. And even if you know that you're good at something, you don't necessarily identify it as part of your Dharma per se. You just figure that, oh, everybody is good at this naturally. And many times people aren't. And so it often takes somebody else, like your friends or your family or somebody else, actually highlighting to you that, well, you know that you're actually really good at this. Not a lot of people are that good at this particular thing. So, you know, and this is why we take it for granted and not actually realize that it's part of our Dharma. The thing that we're just very naturally gifted at is something that many of us just take for granted and don't really pay too much attention to it. I have a friend who he runs an event producing business. He runs an event management business. And he has this guy who loads the truck with all the props and different equipment and things like that. And this guy has such natural spatial awareness. He will just see everything that needs to go in the truck, and he is going to spend like just 2 minutes thinking about where everything is going to go, and he's going to make sure it's done. His boss, on the other hand, my friend, he would look at it and he's like, there's no way all of this is going to fit in there. Like, there's just no way. We're going to have to do 2 trips. And the guy's like, of course not. We can get everything in there, and he's the only one within the company who somehow is able to fit everything in such a way that everything could get into this truck. And like, just this guy is just amazing at this thing that nobody else really in the whole company is that good at. And that is how you know that something is your Dharma, because is something that everybody's gonna look like. Like everybody's gonna be looking at you like that when you're doing it, because they surely can't do it quite like that. So this is one of the ways that you tend to know. And if you think back, I'm sure that you can remember maybe certain instances when people have told you, wow, you're really good at that. Like, I'm sure that if you really think back about it, you'll probably start to realize certain things that you naturally do, or things that you're naturally good at that you don't really have to think too hard about, or the things that people have told you about yourself that you're pretty good at. When somebody's telling you that you're pretty good at something, it means that they probably aren't that good at it, or a lot of people aren't that good at it. So that's kind of how you start to get to know what your Dharma is,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've definitely had it in the past where people have commented, just, because I grew up with computers before that was normal. So yeah, I had a lot of that. But the thing is, computers, like, people are like, oh wow, you're so good at that. But it's like, yeah, but for me, it's not my thing. Like, I mean, I do it, it's easy, but it's not. Yeah, it's kind of that zone. It's not the zone of genius for me. I don't think it's the zone of like competence or something they call it. It's like, oh, I'm good at it, but it's not the part. Like, if I had to do that day in, day out for the rest of my life, I probably wouldn't be as happy as I am when I'm like coaching someone and helping someone to like break through and do brave things. So yeah, I hope,
I don't think necessarily is the computers. The computers is what you apply your Dharma to, but your Dharma is that special skill that you have that you can actually apply to everying.
Okay,
you don't only apply it to computers, you can apply that analytical mind. If you use your analytical mind towards working with computers, it's more the analytical mind that is your Dharma, that you can choose to apply it to anything, actually. And that's a really good thing about it. And this is why purpose and Dharma are 2 separate different things, because your Dharma can be applied to anything to create that purpose. But the working on the computers might not necessarily be your purpose, and it definitely is not your Dharma.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool. Excuse me. I'm glad that you brought that, or that I mentioned that, because then it's like, oh, okay, that really clarifies for me a bit more about what it is and how to sort of look for it and identify it for me in a way. So yeah. Definitely, because I mean, like, helping people with computers, like, definitely the side of teaching and the side of helping somebody have that breakthrough moment of, oh my gosh, I get it. Like, that is the thing that I love doing, and definitely feels like me. And okay,
that's perfect. That's perfect. That's so beautiful. And you can apply that. And that's the good thing about it. You can apply it to a number of different things. And so if you're one of these multi-passionate people, like many of us are, it's endless where you can go with that.
Awesome. Hey, this is Fugitive here, jumping in for a quick moment to ask you, what is that next big brave step for you in your coaching business? Is it the podcast? Maybe the workshop or challenge? Perhaps it's just getting your first paying clients, or simply getting on camera. Whatever it is, you've been dreaming about it for some time, and when you go to get started, that's when other things come up. Family stuff, or clients need more support, or there's a room that needs decluttering. Whatever that is, there's a part of you that knows how amazing it would feel to finally be brave and get that dream project out into the world. You know it would get people talking about you, and it would lead to more clients. But you don't know how to start, how to make it happen, and how to make it a success. That's where I can help you to use my 10 years of experience in online marketing and my skills in managing your mind, so you can make that big leap without the mindset spirals, so you can find the time and the energy to make your dreams come true. I have a few but limited slots open in July for free 45-minute strategy calls, so you can create a plan to get your dream project out into the world without the stress, the overwhelm, and the burnout. Come and find me at tiffanygstudios.com or message me over on Instagram at tiffanygstudios. That's TIFFANY, G for golf, STUDIOS. No spaces, no underscores, no capitals, and DM me over there, and you can send me the word strategy call to get started. Thanks for listening, and let's get back to the podcast. Okay, so I do want to know, what brave things are you working on in your business at the moment, so we can all be inspired?
Well, I gotta tell you that one of those things about me is that when I'm into something, I get fairly obsessive about it. Like I get into it. I drill. Right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've been really into these days is about community building and about creating and crafting beautiful experiences for people. And I have to say, I recently watched Molly's Game, and it just went right out there for me. Like the inspiration was just like right up there. I don't know if you know Molly's Game.
Yeah, I watched it pretty recently too, actually, like, or maybe a couple of months ago. But yeah, what was it about that movie? Oh, remind everyone listening what that movie's about, and yeah.
Okay, so the story is basically a memoir or an autobiography of sorts of this lady called Molly Bloom. And Molly Bloom, she was an Olympic athlete and had this major injury that basically took her off the skis. And she's from Colorado, but she couldn't ski anymore, and she decided that she just needed to take a break. So she decided to go to LA, and she worked as a bartender, where one of the guys that she was serving drinks to said, okay, you know what, you're super smart, you're going to come work for me. And so in a very short space of time, she had another job as an executive assistant for a guy who owned other restaurants and things like this. And what he would do is that at the back of his restaurant, once a week, he would host these poker games, these sort of poker games for celebrities and like high ranking individuals. And he said, okay, you're gonna just take care of the hosting of these games for me. So she would make sure she got the drinks and the food and the everything. And she would learn from these poker games that her boss would put off, that he would pull off. She would just create these experiences that he never even thought of himself. Like his whole game up leveled because of her. She just researched poker games, what it all meant, how to play the game. She knew nothing about it. She also figured, okay, well, these kind of guys, they like these drinks, and they like this kind of food, and they like this kind of experience, and they like these kind of chairs, all kinds of things. And she was so detail oriented about creating these amazing experiences for everybody who would come to this poker game. And she also realized that it wasn't just about people feeling really good while they were there and super comfortable while they were there. It was also about the community. It was these celebrities that they were all just, some a little higher than others in the rankings, so to speak. And they were just all happy to be in the same room with each other to sort of exchange notes that they might not be able to otherwise. And so it was just a great way while you're playing poker and you're gambling and you're competing against each other that you're talking business as well. Or you're talking a little shop. And so she was able to make that whole experience just really amazing for everybody who was there. And so, and so like the story goes goes far down the road after that. But essentially that is what I took away from, from her story. And I'm just about creating these epic experiences for people so that they can, discover their Dharma, feel really good about it, and live in it fully. So that is kind of the brave thing that I'm doing, because when you're creating these sort of unique, epic experiences, they're different, they're unique. And it's always a risk when you go against the grain or when you go different from what everybody else is doing. And it's a lot of trial and error. You have to be really quick to pivot and change and make sure that you do the thing that, the community is feeling. But yeah, so I'm a little nervous about what I am bringing to the table, but I am also really excited about it because it's my Dharma. It's my Dharma. I've gone on so many retreats and loved them all, and really just want to sort of bring a retreat atmosphere to people.
So is this experience, like this retreat atmosphere, is this out in the real world, or is this something online? Or can you give us sort of an example of what one you're building is, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so actually it's going to be both. Right now is going to be online, and as I'm building this community. So what it is coaching with a mastermind. And the coaching is more like strategy coaching, because we're really going to dig deep to find out what your Dharma is, and then how you can apply it, or how you want to apply it to the rest of your life, and then strategize how exactly we're going to do that. So we don't just kind of leave it like, okay, now you know your Dharma, you know what you're going to apply it to, go off into the world, la la la.
Kick them out of the nest.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
We're going to go deep diving into the three main areas of your life: your own personal self-development, your business and professional development, and then creating a lifestyle around it with fantastic, fulfilling, genuine, deep relationships, filled with passions that just light you up, recreational activities, all the other things that allow your life to be fabulous and epic, right? So we go into detailed plans of how you actually will do that is in alignment with who you are. So for example, we're talking a lot to coaches, and in a lot of cases, coaches who do a lot of one-on-one work have to talk one-on-one with a lot of people, and a lot of it is cold calling people. It's just like getting on a phone with someone that you don't really know, and you're pitching your service to people. And in a lot of cases, that is really uncomfortable for people. And so the idea would be, well, what can you do that feels more natural to you? What can you do that feels more comfortable for you, that you can actually get clients with? Because there are a number of different ways to gain clients, right? And in a lot of cases, it's just about thinking, well, how would I do this if society did not teach me or tell me how to do this? How would I normally do this that feels really good for me? And then try to apply it in a real world scenario. So we go into deep strategies in figuring out how to actually be successful in life, in business, and in becoming the person that you absolutely love.
Ooh,
Right?
yeah.
So, and then after we do that, because that's a 3-month program, that is a 3-month program going through the self, business, and lifestyle. And then after that, we have a mastermind that is a lot about the accountability and a lot about the implementing the strategies, actually getting into like, okay, if you want to have somebody look at your social media for you, we're on it. If you want somebody to kind of test out how you're selling to people, we're on it. Like, we get into the details of your business, of yourself, your own personal self development. We do a lot of meditation practices and all kinds of things we do in there, but very practical and very hands on things that will move the needle towards you actually achieving your goals. So while we're doing that, it's like a full 6-hour day that every month we will go into the self, the business, and lifestyle and actually do these activities, do these real, like, you know, actual practical activities to make sure that you actually achieve your goals. Because that's the whole thing. I was one of these people when I started out in my business, when I completely came back from India, sort of lost as to what I'll be doing now, because I knew I didn't necessarily want to continue with massage, right? I wanted to do something else. And it was like, well, starting over, there's just, how do you do that? And so, those are the people that I actually really want to work with. People who are starting over either in business or in lifestyle, whether they've gone through a divorce and they're, or having a new family, like they just had a child and trying to maneuver that with business and with the rest of life and all of that kind of thing. And people who just want to love themselves a little bit more, all of these different things. People who just want to advance their life in those very specific and with strategy. That's who I'd be working with. So it's taking brave new steps, because I'm going where many people don't go, and I'm really I'm very goal oriented. I really, really want to see people achieve their goals and achieve their missions. So I'm working hand in hand with you to make sure that that happens. And that is a brave place to be, because what if? There's always the what if.
Excuse me. Yeah, but I mean, sometimes the what if can be good too. Yeah, just like oftentimes, like, what if can feel bad, or oh no, what about this thing or that thing? But then there's also the what if of the good stuff that can happen. It's like, what if it does all work out, and what if you do find your Dharma and all that? Like, that's the part that excites me, and that, yeah, through the work I've done on myself, like, I'm now focusing more on that side of things. You said that, we help you with, some strategies and things like that. Is it just you, or do you have like other coaches in there? Is there like a team, or is it just you, just out of curiosity?
No, right now it's just me.
Okay.
It's just me, and everything that I share and I teach in the program are all things that I learned from my own personal experiences, plus a lot of different strategies and hacks from other people, other hugely successful billionaires and millionaires out there. as well as from spiritual gurus, as well as from just nature. It's a whole compilation of wisdom from a whole lot of different sources, but tied together in this neat little bow
Awesome. I love that.
of epic experiences.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that. So you did talk a little bit about it, just that you went to India, you got in touch and found out more about your Dharma, and then there's like, what are the brave steps you had to take from that to then becoming a coach yourself? Is that kind of the trajectory, or was there more like, oh, I tried something else first on the way, or how did that work?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I came back to Barbados and I decided, okay, I'm going to start teaching yoga. And one of the things I realized is that people actually don't want to learn yoga. People want a stretch class that looks like yoga on the outside, when yoga is very much an inside job. And so one of the brave things was trying to share with people what yoga actually is, and to tell them that what you think yoga is not actually yoga. So you could imagine that and people I yoga is almost like, talking about sports or religion or politics. People get really strong about their style of yoga. Well, I do Bikram yoga, so it's gonna be different from whatever you're teaching. And I'm like, no, yoga is yoga is yoga. Your Bikram yoga is is not actually yoga. Okay, so let's dial it back there. And you can't, sometimes telling people this is really confrontational a lot of times. And so that was one of the brave things that I had to do, to actually come and enlighten people as to what yoga really is. It's almost like me telling people what Dharma is, because everybody believes Dharma is purpose. And so when I come and say, actually, it's not. And when you have such a large amount of people believing one thing, and you're here to sort of confront them and say, no, actually, that's not true. But the thing is, I have to, right? Like, if I want to be true to the thing, and I want to share honest, truthful information that will actually make a difference, I have to say exactly what it is, right? And go through, some of the processes that some of these ancient masters would have gone through to guide people through that, but in a modern way, right? So it's always interesting when you're bringing something that could be a little confrontational. You kind of have to stand in your own truth, and you kind of have to be brave about it and say, in a really nice way, I don't think you're right. and disagreeing with people in that kind of ways, especially with something like yoga or something like Dharma, where people have very set ideas about what those things are. It could be a little bit scary. It could be, it's confrontational. So it requires a bit of bravery and standing in your own truth and saying, this is how actually it is to be done. I remember, for example, I was doing one-on-one teaching with someone in yoga, and I was explaining about yin yoga and how you can turn it into this beautiful meditational type of practice, right? And I said that this is also a really good way if you want to increase your flexibility, or allow more mobility in your body. Just stay in this position for this amount of time. And I would tell her how I did it and how it worked for me. And she was like, that's nonsense. That's BS. Of course it's not going to work. That's stupid, And it's like, you get these kinds of things, and it's like, that's okay. You don't, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to, if this is your belief, then so be it. It is your belief. But I can tell you from my personal experience, as well as the experience of many gurus, that this is actually how it's done. You don't have to believe me. And you just kind of have to go with, like, in that kind of way, just be brave, but stand in your own truth. Don't necessarily give in to other people's feelings or beliefs, especially when you know that it works,
Yeah. Oh man, that's so powerful. Like for my own experiences and my background, I have had a very strong people-pleasing nature. So when it comes to, and then part of marketing and standing out from the crowd and everything is like being different and talking about the myths and the things that you believe that are different. And then, yeah, just every time, or many times I've tried to do that. Oh man, it's so hard standing in that power. Like that's the way you said it, right? It's just like, yes, being brave, standing in that power and saying, yes, I believe something different. And then the people who agree with that will be attracted to you. And yeah, do you find you also get people now who are coming to you and being like, oh yes, I love your approach to Dharma. I 100% agree with what you're talking about and I want to find out more. Like, are you getting more of that as well?
Yeah, I find that so many people have just been burned out. I think after these last 3 years, 2 years, 3 years, that people are just so burned out, so tired, so exhausted, and just they feel stuck. They know they want to change their lives, and but they feel stuck and lost as to how to do that. They might have an idea what they want, but they just feel like, can I really do that? Can I really achieve that? And so lots of people are coming like, you know what, I just want to be me, and I just want to be happy, and I just want to live my best personal life. And so yeah, it's resonating a lot with a lot of people. Like a lot of people are definitely leaning in this direction more than anything else, and I'm so pleased about that. So pleased.
Oh man, that's awesome, and I'm really glad about that too, just because yeah, it's like we've got to find these things where we're different and where we stand in our own belief and that power and all that. I love how you're sharing that with us and modeling that for us and giving us more reasons to find ways to do that in our own coaching businesses and everything. I think that's amazing. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Coaching is something that, you might have guidelines for, anybody who's done a coaching certification has guidelines for how the coaching session might go, but it's still a relatively personal thing. It's you and another person having a conversation, and how that conversation goes is entirely up to you and that other person. And so it's definitely somewhere where your own personality, your inner light has the opportunity to shine really brightly there. And so I think coaching is really beautiful for that reason, that every coach is going to be a little bit different because every coach is different. And so the process to the coaching is going to be different, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. There's somebody out there for everybody.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I find that those personal differences too, it also reflects in the marketing, like you were saying before about, the cold calling versus finding other strategies and things like that. I find that finding the right marketing and that right way of finding your coaching clients is also this really personal thing. And what works for one person doesn't work for another person, even if their business is similar and things like that. So yeah, it's just sort of, it's interesting how that echoes and ripples, and yeah, just revelations for me on the podcast.
Absolutely. It's the entire customer journey from beginning to end is an entirely personal thing, especially for somebody like a coach, right? It's an entirely personal thing for you and how you relate to that other person or those other people. And so you always have to find your way, and like you said, it's when you find your own differentiation that makes it more unique and more special. I was listening to a podcast earlier, The Diary of a CEO. I don't know if you know that podcast.
Yeah, I haven't watched too many of the episodes, but it's definitely something that I kind of is an inspiration for this podcast a bit too. So
Yeah, so I was watching that, and Stephen was saying to someone, oh my goodness, I just lost my train of thought there, but I can't remember. But I think he was saying something about Steve Jobs and how Steve Jobs is just, he does everything differently, his own personal way. And that's what made him and the Apple brand what it is. The fact that he was able to just stand out from the crowd from being so different and doing it his way and receiving a whole bunch of complaints. You know, a lot of people complained about him, but at the end of the day, they had to realize that Apple wouldn't be Apple without Steve. So at the end of the day, you know, you have to do things your way from beginning to end. The Apple product is different. The way how he would market it is different. The way how where he would do his presentations are different. Just the entire customer experience is very different, right? From any other app or tech store. So you just have to do things your own personal way and be really proud of it and defend it 100%. Like, even when other people around you are telling you that that's not going to work, it's nonsense, like, just do it your way. Right? Like, you have to, but always make sure that the customer is feeling good about it, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I'm doing it my way and not serving
I know,
you well.
right?
Yeah.
That's the one person you really need to make sure that you and them are in alignment with each other.
Yeah.
So
100%. Yeah. Oh wow. Oh man. Okay, so you've told us a little bit about your past, but like what was a couple of the brave things you had to do to get your first coaching client for this stuff? Or was it an easy transition because you had a lot of people you knew from massage? Okay. Yeah, tell us that story.
not easy at all. It was a lot of trial and error, a lot of pivoting, a lot of attempts of different things. And so I've tried the cold calling one-on-one type of person. I've tried, the Facebook groups. I've tried, going into Facebook groups and offering a freebie of some sort and trying to gain people that way. And I've tried all the different ways that people say that you should, and not all, but many. And a lot of it didn't necessarily work because so many other people are doing it already, and everybody's already offering the same basic freebies, and everybody's in the Facebook groups, trying to do the same thing. Every time you friend request somebody, if they respond to you, it's always, how are you doing in your business right now? It's always like that. And so I found that for me, because I knew how I felt when I got those kinds of messages, or whenever I got those calls, or whenever I got one of those freebies that, that is like that. I just knew that, this is not what I wanted to do, because I knew how I felt with it, and it was not necessarily great. And so anybody who would be aligned with me as a client, who would be like my ideal client, I knew also probably would not appreciate it as much. So I just went a completely different way. It's a relatively slow way, but what I do is I invite people to my Facebook group, which is called Euphoria Emporium. And in that group, I reference other cool people. I reference things that made an impact on my life. It's all free. I might, for example, recommend Diary of a CEO. I might recommend other podcasts like Lewis Howes podcasts, and I might recommend, like other things out there, like the Boss Babes. I'll mention them because they're super cool. Like I refer to I give like recommendations and references to a number of different resources of great people who are doing amazing things. I also go in there and give, quick tips and hacks to get people advancing quicker. And what I'll actually be doing from this Thursday is coaching. Every Thursday, I'm going to have like maybe 30 minutes to an hour of coaching, depending on how many people come and so on. Yeah, and it's free. Free coaching every Thursday. And so in my Euphoria Emporium Facebook group. And so from that coaching, from that free coaching, it's my way of showing people, of sharing my love with people, not my love as in my Dharma, but sharing unconditional love with others, and having people actually experience what the coaching might be like working with me one-on-one. And so people get to experience that every week.
That's awesome. So do you coach somebody on the call? Like, does somebody come along and you're doing like hot seat coaching? Okay.
Yeah. So it's hot seat coaching every Thursday. If you're there and you want to know about something, if you want to get clarity on something, then absolutely coaching, free coaching for everyone.
Oh man, I love that actually. Gosh, I mean, so I've been in online marketing since 2011, and I haven't seen people do like free coaching in a group like that. I've seen them do hot seat coaching like as part of a launch or things like that, and I've done it as part of a launch, but not just like in a group, and it's every Thursday. And I love that. I love how that that difference and oh man.
I figure, that this is the one way, because I've really been thinking about it. What is the one way that doesn't feel sleazy? It doesn't feel like me sort of trying to coach somebody to work with me or anything like that. I knew that what I wanted was for people to be asking me if they can work with me rather than me asking them. Do you want to work with me? I wanted it to be that kind of experience and a no-brainer experience for people. And I figured the best way to do that is for them to actually have the experience before putting money down. Like, they need to know that, yes, you're going to get the results that you're looking for. Because that's a kind of a no-risk situation. So for me, that's what feels really good for me personally. And I feel that, other people would appreciate it.
Oh man, I love that. And that's the kind of work like I love doing with my clients, is finding those things where you stand out from the crowd, you're doing something different, but it's in this way that just feels like it lights you up and it feels aligned, right? So like even my own experience, like with this podcast, I've said this before on the podcast, but just for me, I thought I had to wait until I had a certain amount of income, but I was just really miserable in my business. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to start the podcast now. And like, this is my way of connecting, even though coaches are like, you need to focus on more money generating activities, but this is my way to connect and serve. And like it helps me, and all of that stuff, can come later. But this is just what I love doing. So I love that, standing out from the crowd and doing what works for you.
And you're really good at it. So by all means,
you should go back to episode 1. It was a bit janky.
Did listen to episode 1, and it's not as bad as you think. I listened to a few. honestly, some of your solo ones as well as some with people. And
wow. Yeah.
honestly, they're not as bad as you think.
Thanks.
We're always our hardest critic, right? We're always our toughest critic. It's not so bad.
Yeah. Well, I definitely have to say it's definitely getting easier, and I'm just having way more fun with it and everything now. Like, as the work I've been doing on like self-doubt and trusting myself, it's definitely had an impact on this podcast and the way I show up and interact. Yeah. But yeah, enough about me. Back to you, because you are my amazing guest. Tell me, what brave things do you have coming up in the next couple of months? The next, I don't know, 3 to 6 months, or how far do you plan out? And yeah, like, what's coming?
Yeah, so yeah, I plan out for the next 6 months, and in next year it'll be 3 months, every 3 months. But for this year, for the rest of this year, my plan is just to go all out for every single one of my clients in every possible way that I can. I foresee myself working almost as hard as I was in my massage practice, but what I've also done is I'm doing it slightly differently. I'm inserting pockets of pit stops in there. I have pockets of time when I stop and I shut down all social media. I shut down all computers and everything, and just sort of have a day or a weekend where there is no contact with me, where I can just fill my cup so that when I come back to everyone, I have so much more to give. And I that's definitely a big lesson that I learned, that you could say that you're working all the time, but if you don't stop to fill your cup, you're going to have less and less and less and less to give to people. So taking those stops is really important. So the brave thing is, for me, having experienced that burnout, that kind of level of burnout before, and going into a situation where I know that I'm going to be working like super, super hard, but still excited about it. And I'm really a lot more confident about it now that I have, situations to deal with what may happen. But yeah, I think the brave thing is just going all in. Just going all in on making sure that my clients are super happy, however I can make them happy,
Sorry, I'm just getting over this cold. Yeah, so I love that. What exactly, like, what's an example of you going all in for one of your clients, just as a
So one of the things that I did, for example, in massage is that, and there are things that I can't, that I wouldn't necessarily be able to prepare a plan for, because sometimes you get requests that you're not expecting. And it's up to you to decide, okay, well, how do you, in this time, with the resources that you have, can you make something specifically for the client at that time? And that's what I hope to do. A lot of it will be my intuition, and it's a little bit scary because to depend on intuition is not something that you can sort of demand show up now, right? It's not something like that. It is something that comes by inspiration. And so I am trusting, and this is one of those things that I've really been working on a lot as part of my coaching training, actually, is my connection to God, or my connection to higher natural intelligence, or connection to a higher power, or whatever it is, because I strongly feel that was the thing that made me a super success with my massage practice, and it is the thing that will make me a super success with my coaching practice as well. Because I'll tell you, like, with my massage practice, I I'd immediately go directly to the places where people needed it the most, and they'd never tell me anything. I just knew intuitively, this is where, and they'd get off the table like, oh my gosh, I don't know how you did that. I don't know how you knew, but that is exactly, you know? And so for me, that has been one of my superpowers, and that is the superpower that I really want to hone and apply specifically to my coaching. And it's a little scary because you can't plan it. You can't, it's not like a script that I have or anything like that. It just kind of has to come to you on the spot. And sometimes people are like, especially if a person isn't ready to deal with a particular thing, you get that sort of inspiration or intuition, you share it with them, and they might fight you down for it because they're not ready to deal with it. So those are the things that I know that I have to be brave about, and I'm definitely, I'm a little nervous, I suppose, but trusting.
Nice. A little nervous, but trusting. Oh, I like that. Like, that's definitely something I can be inspired by. Actually, I really like that.
Yeah, because I feel I realize, or I have recognized throughout my entrepreneurial pursuits, that the times when I have been the most successful, or the times that I have been the most effective, have been the times when I was most connected to my natural intelligence, or natural intelligence as a whole. And so, it's just always keeping myself in a positive space, keeping myself healthy, keeping myself with lots of positive information coming in, so that I am vibrating at the same frequency to allow that natural intelligence to keep flowing. So it's my own personal practice, I suppose, or my own personal development, so that I can serve better, and always still being a little nervous, like, will I be able to, will I be able to really make a difference and really make an impact, and always being surprised or awestruck when I do. I still, it's incredible, but I'm still awestruck when something comes to me, I say it, and it's like, oh my gosh, yes. Like, how did you know?
Oh, man.
So and it's something you just can't plan. You just have to trust.
Yes, absolutely. And definitely, I know that feeling that you're in a session with someone and something comes up, and you, especially, like I said, I'm leaning more into trusting myself, and then these things come to me, and then that when they respond, and it's just that awestruck. I really 100% understand what you're talking about on that, at least from my own experiences, for sure. So
Right? How beautiful and fulfilling is that? It's one of the most beautiful things. Oh my goodness. It's like, yes, I am right where I should be right now. Like, I'm in the right place at the right time with the right person.
Oh man. Oh, I love that. Oh wow. Okay. So one last question that I ask everybody, which is, if there is somebody who's listening to this podcast and they're thinking about their next big brave step, maybe it's their Facebook group, maybe it's cold calling. Good luck to them.
I know, right?
Yeah. We are with you, friend. Anyway,
I know.
Well, but they're contemplating that, but they're holding off. They're not sure it's the right time. What would you say to that person who's sort of dreaming but maybe not taking the action yet?
Well, the most important thing in any business is working on your mindset. 80% is mindset and 20% is actually doing the thing. And so work on developing, and there's certain characteristics or traits about entrepreneurs, and many people have some of them, but not all of them. One of them is you have to be fearless and assertive. You have to, because the thing is that you're doing this as a service to somebody, right? You're doing this because you know that somebody is going to need your help. This is not, you need to get out of your own way and stop thinking so much about yourself and how you might feel and how you might look and what you think about yourself, and think about the person that you're trying to serve. When you think about the person that you're trying to serve and you recognize, okay, you know what, they have these challenges and I am the perfect person to help them solve these particular challenges, then take yourself and your ego out of the situation and put yourself in a place of love to serve. And to me, that is really the thing. And so the thing about love is that is the exact opposite to fear. If you can put yourself more in the place of love, then the fear steps out of the equation. And so you don't have to worry about being fearless if you approach all of your situations with clients with love.
Oh, I love that. It's so powerful. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And thank you so much for all of your time today. We will, of course, have links to all of your stuff in the show notes. But for the people who listen who are like me, who are like, I don't want to click on something, I just want to go find it now. How can people find you? Where can we connect? How do we,
Well, the best way to connect with me is in my Euphoria Emporium Facebook group. The link, I'll share that with you. I'm sure that it'll be in the show notes, but you can also do a search in Facebook group for Euphoria Emporium. And yeah, you should definitely be able to see it. You just leave your email address so that I can let you know when the free coaching is happening. And that's it. You're coming right in.
Awesome. I signed up for the group not long before we started recording this podcast. It's been on my to-do list for a little while. So yeah, I'm in there, and I don't spend as much time over on Facebook, but I might be spending some more time on Facebook soon. So yeah.
Great. Well, I hope to see you. Thank you so much for this. This has been a really incredible experience. You are a beautiful podcast hostess, and I really appreciate you doing this. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, and thank you for taking the time to be here and sharing and just inspiring us. There's so much more to Dharma than I knew about, considering I didn't know much at all. Even yoga, all of the stuff that you've shared, definitely inspiring me for the day, and will inspire me again when I edit this episode. And I look forward to sharing with everyone else. So thank you so much.
Thank you too. Love you all. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Business Bravery podcast. Has this episode inspired you to do something brave? Even if it's only send a difficult email, please share it with me on Instagram or other social media channels. Feel free to tag me at Tiffany G Studios. That's TIFFANY. G for golf, STUDIOS, no spaces, no underscores, etc. Or you can use the hashtag Business Bravery Podcast so that I can cheer you on, and together we can inspire other coaches and course creators to do brave things in their business and life. Now, I'm Tiffany, and I'll leave you with this one last thing. What's one brave thing you're going to do today? It doesn't have to be big. Even the smallest steps can create the most massive results. So again, feel free to share it with me either publicly or privately so that I can cheer you on. That's it from me. Until next time, bye for now.